a really cool tool that most communities have, and this is kind of a beefed up version of Google Earth, but I think it's poignant to talk about it here because it has a lot of information that you may not get from Google Drive. So there is a application on the city maps, and it's the ARC GIS system. Most cities have a GIS system, and ours is no different. And this has lots of different versions, but the one that I want to draw your attention to here is the interactive application. I'm going to teach y'all how to use this in an activity, but I'm just going to kind of go through it with you. So this red line is the city limits of Nacogdoches, and we have people at the city who actually maintain this entire database, and then there's tons of information. They use this to map all kinds of things, and they use it to keep track of lots and lots and lots of data for the city. So what I just did here was I went into layers. See this little stack of papers is a layer list, and you can kind of go through and look at all the categories of things that you can and can't look at, and you can turn these layers on and off. And so what I think is kind of cool is you can search for an address. So let's just search for SFA. It wants the official name. No, okay, you don't like that either. Well, we can search for City Hall. You have to have an address because it's all based on addresses, and it'll actually show you all kinds of things related to City Hall is downtown. So here's the square. If I can zoom in, there's a little plus and a minus here. You can zoom in and zoom out. Let's see here. I'm going to move that and get us over here. So let's say I wanted to start a new business. I think there's a vacant building right here. There's a building right here that's vacant. This is a whole block. Oh, no, I lied. Here it is. Here's the building I'm thinking of. So you can see these little lines. These are all buildings with their addresses. So 120 Main Street is vacant. So let's say I want to see where the fire hydrants are located. So turned it on, and all these fire hydrants started to pop up. Let's say I wanted to see where the water mains were. This becomes really important when you need a building that has a lot of water. So you can see there's lots of 6-inch lines, 1-inch lines. There's all kinds of stuff that you can turn on and off. You can look at water taps. See, those just came on. You can look at water meters. Those water meters just popped on. Let's say you're tired of looking at water and you want to go somewhere else. You want to look at something else. You can see the zoning of each building. So B3, if we zoom out a little bit, you can start to see downtown where the zoning changes by color. So this is industrial. This over here is B2, which is business. So there's like different levels of business zoning. We won't get into that, but if you were purchasing a building and you wanted to use it for a certain purpose, you would really care about its zoning. So you can actually go in here and look at it. Lots of local developers, lots of people who are buying property or developing property in the community, they use this because they want to know information and they don't want to have to come to City Hall to meet in a face-to-face building to find it out when it's all right here at their fingertips. This one's kind of cool. So let's go up here. We're going to zoom over here closer to campus. And we actually have a layer for SFA property. So you can start to see where we turn. Here's North Street, and here it starts to become campus. So we can turn on SFA property, and it all turns purple. You could see here, there's a little parking lot in the park right here. Pecan Acres Park is right here. SFA actually owns this parking lot, and they own all of this where the weather station is. So you could look and go, oh, I didn't know, SFA owned that property. SFA actually owns property all over town. So you could keep zooming out and you could start to see, oh, look, there's buildings over here that they own. I think there's a few pieces of property off the loop. We may have to zoom in to see it, but yep, there it is right here. That's, I think, the nursing school. You could keep going out here. There's the research center. Continue on to Central Heights, and here's the farms out here, so you can see all of that's blocked off. So this is kind of a useful tool if you're trying to figure out what is state property and what is not. Let's zoom back into SFA. there's just a lot of resources on here. And I think it's really important as you start to think about building businesses or getting jobs. Let's say you go work somewhere where you want to show off a little bit and you want to say, hey, look, I know where we can figure out, if there's floodplains, that we have a lot of areas that flood in Nacogdoches, so we can look at where those parts are. So if you want to buy a property and develop it to grow crops or to build a building, let's make sure it's not in the floodplain. Let's see where the flood elevations lie. There's all kinds of really interesting data. There's storm inlets, tanks, wells, water meters, creeks, trails. We can turn on creeks and trails and see where we are. So this is just kind of a cool look. Let's say we wanted to measure the football field. We all know how long a football field is, but there's also a tool in here. Let me zoom out and get it in my screen completely, where there's a little ruler right here. You can go in here and say, I want you can kind of hover over, because I can't ever remember what these little icons mean. You can hover over an area or a distance. So let's say I want to go from here, place a point there. I can place a point there. It's probably not a perfectly straight line, but let me draw a line. There it goes. It's a little finicky. So you can go in here and draw from there and back. You can draw, looks like 200 feet right there. You could also just clear it. You could click on them again and make them go away. Or you can pick one up and move it. Or you kind of have to practice, and clearly I'm out of practice. Let's say you want to change it and I want to see yards, because that's how we think in football terms. So I want to go from here. No, go away. Like I said, it's kind of crazy. You can also just exit. You need to start over, because clearly I'm having some issues here. Why is it doing that? I guess it doesn't want to be messed with. I'm gonna hit clear. There we go. Okay. So sometimes you just have to play with it, guys. But let's go in here again and measure yards. So we're going to go from here to here. Now it's doing what it's supposed to. So it was probably not a perfectly straight line, but hey, guess what? Our football field is 100 yards. So go us. And if you're over it, you want to clear it out, you can. So I hope that you learned a little bit of something here. And you can kind of get in here and play around and see what you can find out. And maybe this will come in handy someday. So thanks for tuning in.